of weeks ago, I met with Nora Williams, who is a PhD student in the drama department at Exeter University. Herself and a few other of the drama PhD students and other female friends in theatre had decided to do a feminist reimagining of Measure for Measure. Their aims were to give Isabella a stronger voice, provide opportunities for modern women to speak back to the canon, and to highlight the familiarity of Isabella's story to modern women. So one of the main influences for this piece was the Cheek by Jowl production that was done earlier this year that Nora had seen. And she noticed that they'd managed to completely ignore the gender politics within the play. They had looked at all of the other different themes and aspects of this performance, but they had just either forgotten to look at the gender politics or didn't think it was important enough. So that then sort of started her to question, well, actually, why can't gender politics be the main point of this performance? So the group have only one rule, and that is that all of the material that is being added to this feminist reimagining is created by a woman. So poetry made by a woman, the music made by a woman, all of the performers will be women apart from the one male who will portray all of the men. They decided that they wanted to try and represent a cross-section of women in the performance. However, unfortunately, because of the context of Exeter, it means that they can't be quite as diverse as they would have liked, which is unfortunate, but they feel like they are a strong showing of women. When I was with them, unfortunately, there wasn't enough people available to for me to see a rehearsal, which they would have been using the viewpoints exercises to try and explore the scenes and create some more material. Unfortunately, it was only Nora and two of her colleagues, Beck Fraser and Sharanya Murali, so they decided that they would discuss the structure of the piece a bit more. So they were talking about how they would be swapping between scenes and chorus sections so that nobody would get too comfortable in the Shakespeare text. So the chorus scenes would be new written material by all of the women, and some of the scenes would actually also be new material so that it wasn't all the actual original Shakespeare text. They were having this dialogue with the text and with the audience and with themselves. They were aiming to bring the three female characters to the foreground of the piece, which the chorus would then tie together, and it would be multi-rolling so that it wouldn't be a linear piece of narrative. It would be this non-linear material that was being explored through the viewpoints and being explored through the new material coming in. And it wasn't a sort of comfortable, you are coming to see Shakespeare. But then that kind of begs the question of, is it actually still Shakespeare at all then? And they talked about it for a while, and they sort of discussed how actually perhaps it's impossible to do Shakespeare with women at the forefront. I mean, they were questioning the way that men were telling women's stories and how that necessarily wasn't how they would want to tell the story. So obviously they were particularly focusing on Isabella, who was one of the more prominent female roles in the piece already, and they were particularly questioning her right to say no, her refusal, the power of her refusal, when she is propositioned by Angelo and also by the Duke, how actually she was able to say no, full stop. She didn't need to say no because she didn't have to have a reason why she didn't want to do that. It was simply all right for her to just say no. So then they decided to start talking about how they would tackle the end, because at the end the Duke propositions Isabella again into marrying him. And they were discussing, well, perhaps they could have multiple women from the chorus and multiple different endings. So different women would come out and deal with the one male actor that they would have in this piece that would be portraying the Duke. And it would sort of be like a discussion of, well, perhaps, yes, I could say yes to you, but maybe no, actually another woman would come in and say, well, why should I have to? I'm comfortable in my own choice. I'm comfortable with my religious choices. Why do I have to be tied down to a man that actually I don't love? And that was quite an interesting discussion. They were all extremely intelligent women, and it was quite a pleasure to watch them talk so openly and so passionately about these feminist issues of, well, actually, why does the woman have to be just a vehicle for the male's storyline? Why can't the woman be the one that is carrying this storyline all the way through? So I feel like the work that's going to finally come out of this project is going to be an extremely exciting reimagining of Measure for Measure from a feminist perspective. And I think that that's something that is especially overlooked, particularly when focusing on Measure for Measure. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to when they finally have something to show next year, hopefully. And I'd like to say thank you to them again for meeting with me, and good luck.